Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? How's it going? This is a live stream I've been talking about doing for a little while, man. I'm happy to finally get to doing this one. Give me just a couple seconds to make sure that the stream is actually up and running. I think it is. This is the typical stream tradition. The first few moments of the stream is just bumbling around to make sure the stream's actually up. What's up, everybody? What's up, Snailium? What's up, Kona? Bromus, what's up, bro? How's it going, everyone? So yeah, today we're going to be ranking the Chimera ants. Kona, you said you were sleeping during the last stream. Yeah, dude, my stream times are just all kinds of random, I'm not gonna lie. Snailium said it's up and running. Sick, okay. So what's up, everybody? Today we're going to be ranking the Chimera ants from Hunter x Hunter. There's a lot of different Chimera ants in the series, and like the series actually goes out of their way to show you the difference in power based on like how they interact with each other. So today we're going to be going into detail about a few of these interactions and like analyzing them and seeing what we can get out of it. And I'm just going to go over a few like different narrative statements that are in the series that give us an idea of like how strong the characters are. Then we're going to head over to create a tier list ranking the ants. And I also have a poll that I did that like scaled 2 ants that I thought were pretty close in power, and I've seen like people talk about a lot. So yeah, we'll get into that at the very end. That's a nice quote, Conan. That's a nice quote from Eisen. But all right, let's get into this. So first, let me go over a few different narrative things, and then we'll get into the tier list, okay? So when it comes to the Chimera ants, like when they're first introduced, they tell us the difference between them based on the rank that they're assigned at birth. So like when the ants are born, they range in rank from officer, peon. Well, starting at the bottom, they go peon, then officer, then squadron leader. Then there's only 3 royal guards, and then the queen is like the one who's giving birth to all of these different ants. Something that's interesting is technically all of the ants are brothers and sisters. Even like Merwin and the royal guard, even though they like all serve Merwin, they're all technically Merwin's siblings, which is something that's pretty interesting. And we get a bit of information about like the difference between the ranks based on how the different ants like act to each with one another. So like, oh hey Dova, what's up, bro? Welcome to the stream. What's up, Eric? But yeah, let me keep going. So yeah, some of the ants, we don't get their actual rank straight up stated to us at during the manga, but you can imply what their rank is based on how they interact with like other ants. So for example, Leol, this lion ant right here, he's a squadron leader, and Leol, he's talking to these 2 ants, and they're talking about like how a group of officer ants like will act with each other. And they don't work as a team. So like when you get a bunch of officer ants together, they don't like take orders from one another, and they don't like engage in teamwork. The officer ants, they listen to their squadron leader, and even then there's like some that rebel, like Ramot rebels against Cult, and then the Koala rebels against Melioron a little bit. But typically it's like officers, they only listen to their squadron leader, or the royal guard. Obviously they kind of like submit to power. And yeah, and another interesting thing is like there's officers that, according to their own statements, it could be an exaggeration, but some officers say that they're 10 times stronger than other officers. So like just within the officer class alone, you can range in power by like up to 10 times, somewhere around there. And another thing that's interesting is like the Chimera ants keep a lot of them, they're heavily influenced by like the humans that were eaten to create them. So like these 3 ants, for example, something that gets revealed later in the arc is that Leol's the squadron leader, and these two appear to be Leol's officers, but he treats them differently than every other officer. Like he's always shown like hanging out with these two guys. It implies that like before they were turned into ants, these three were friends. But we find out like this guy is an officer to Leol because like when he is speaking about Leol, he calls him Leol Sama or Sir Leol, and he takes orders from Leol a lot. But we'll get into that as we go forward. So here's an example of like officers not listening to each other. Like they get this is the group of officers that Leol was speaking about. And when they like gang up on Gon, Killua, and Kite, instead of like all of them trying to jump these guys, they say like, yeah, we're gonna have one-on-one fights. And then they're like talking trash about one another like the entire time. Then here is this dude right here. His name's Flutter, and Flutter is like giving orders to these ants that go and fight Killua in the trees. Is that the next panel I have here? I have that a little later. Like these ants right here, they're taking orders from Flutter. So it's like, oh my bad. That implies that Flutter is an officer, and that these ants that attacked Killua in the trees, these ones are most likely fodder ants, but it's debatable. Some people think that these are officers, but they straight up took orders from an officer. So that leads, like, we don't actually know what the rank of these ants are. We just know that they're like not that strong, and they all get one shot by Killua, like even while they gang up on him. But Killua was also like just simply him, so maybe they are officers. But another way you can differentiate officers from normal peons is that peon ants cannot learn Nen. Officer ants and squadron leaders are the only ones that can learn Nen, and then royal guards are born with Nen. And then this guy is stated to be the leader of this whole organization, and like they were all taking orders from Flutter. So like that would like one way you could view it is these guys are all peons and this is one officer ant, or maybe these are all officer ants and this is just the strongest one. But either way, these are like some of the weakest of all the ants that we see. A few more things I want to go into. Let's see here. So, oh yeah, this is the example of Flutter taking orders from Leol. We see it right here. It's like Leol's using his Hatsu ability to like find Killua, and he's telling him like, don't lose him, get all the men to stop him. And Flutter's like, yes, sir, like takes orders from him. So this Flutter is an officer to Leol. And then we also see here this koala, he's an officer to Melioron. Okay, but it seems like it depends on what humans were absorbed into creating the Chimera ants. But like this guy rebels against Melioron. And it seems like if the human that went into creating the officer had like a strong will, they're more likely to rebel. And if like the officer ant is like close to squadron leader level in power, or like almost as strong as their squadron leader is, then there might be a chance of rebellion there too, because Melioron is like stated to be one of, if not legitimately, the physically weakest squadron leader. I'm not even, to be completely honest, I don't even fully understand why Melioron was a squadron leader, because he's like very, very physically weak. But he was a squadron leader as well. Then, oh, hey, what's up, everybody in the stream? Sorry, I'm not, I should have said this earlier. Sorry, I'm not reading like the comments all right away. I'm just going through like some analysis and narrative scaling first. Then we'll go to the tier list, and I'll be like a lot more interactive with the chat during the tier list portion. And then in the end, we'll look at the poll, and I'll be reading a lot of the comments there. But anyway, another thing is we get to see a bunch of squadron leaders like when the Chimera ants are first introduced. So a lot of these dudes, like, we never actually even get to see them fight, and we don't even know their names. So like if you look up these characters like on the Hunter x Hunter wiki, a lot of them just like are named by like what animal they mostly represent. Like this dude is just called alligator. This dude I think is just called mantis. Like whichever ones didn't get a name, they're just like based on what animal makes up most of their appearance. But yeah, these are the squadron leaders. Okay, we went through that panel. Now another thing is one of the things that pretty much every squadron leader did, except for Colt, Colt and like Peggy as well, but most of the squadron leaders, they naturally wanted to become king because they were so strong. It's like as soon as they were born, the squadron leaders were much stronger than the officers, to the point where like they rebelled a little bit against the queen. Like the queen was telling them like bring 50 humans a day. That's like the quota of each squadron leader. And what Colt would do, he would get like more than 50 humans and keep giving them all to the queen. But the other squadron leaders, they would hit 50 humans and then the rest they would eat for themselves, which was like kind of rebelling against the queen's orders. Colt did not do that because Colt was made out of like a very pure-hearted child, and he retained a lot of that pure-hearted child's personality, and like viewed the queen the same way that he viewed his sister. So he just like protected the queen as much as he possibly could. But yeah, it's an interesting thing how like the Chimera ants, a lot of them retain the personality of like whatever human they absorbed. Another thing, Kite states that a lot of the Chimera ants were made from criminals. So that's like part of the reason why so many of the Chimera ants were like so violent and brutal. But Ramot, the interesting thing about Ramot is he was one of the stronger officer ants. And like when we get to the tier list, we'll see like where he scales up. I don't necessarily believe that he was the absolute strongest officer, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But he was definitely one of the strongest ones, or I'll say he was one of the stronger ones. And the moment he got Nen, he started acting like a squadron leader. He started thinking like, oh, I could become a king too. And like something that most of the squadron leaders did was they would title themselves king or queen based on their strongest attribute, like their natural strength. So for Cheetu called himself the Speed King. The alligator that was just eating a bunch of like different beings was calling himself the Glutton King. All of them were like titling themselves king or queen based off of their strongest attribute. And just because they were naturally strong. Ramot, once he got Nen, he started thinking that he could be a king as well. And I think this is where, like, there is something that would go around on the internet a lot. Like, before people would really make Hunter x Hunter power scaling videos, this was just something I would see on the internet. People said, like, the moment Ramot got Nen, he was equal in potential to Zazan. And I've looked for that. I've never been able to find like a statement from Togashi specifically saying that, or a data book specifically saying that. If you guys have ever actually found that statement, please like send it in the Discord for this channel. You could send it in the debate tab, and I would like look at it there. And I'll leave a link to the Discord in the description to this live stream once the live stream finishes. But yeah, I was looking for it, and I could not actually find a statement specifically saying that Ramot was equal in potential to Zazan. So I think this is where that like idea comes from. It's like he had potential similar to the squadron leaders once he awakened Nen, because he was already one of the stronger officers. And then I put this panel here because it showed like Colt, even without Nen, took a full power punch from Ramot to the face and like didn't even go unconscious, which is pretty crazy scaling for Colt. Okay. And here's the difference between peons and officers. Oh, Isaiah, what's up, bro? What's up, man? Yeah, so, and sorry, I'm not, sorry for not reading the comments in detail. I will do that in one moment, like once I finish all this narrative scaling stuff and I get over to the tier list. I only have like a couple slides left, so sorry for not reading all the comments in depth right away, guys, but I will in a few moments. I just don't want to like lose my train of thought. So sorry about that, but I will read your comment in a moment here, Isaiah. So anyway, the difference between peons and officer ants. So the peon ants, they like take orders from the officers, and the peon ants actually cannot awaken Nen. Like this is shown with this like pig dude who's his whole job is just to be like a butcher, and he actually cannot see the aura that like Ramot has awakened, but like all of the officers and squadron leaders can. So then right after this, like they straight up state like it's just the squadron leaders and officers that engage in like the Nen awakening ritual, where they're just getting like rocked in the face by Ramot's Nen and awakening aura that way. Only the squadron leaders and officers do that. The peon ants do not have Nen. So that's another way you can tell the difference between if someone's an officer or a peon. And I think these are some of the last slides here. So like these were the first Chimera ants created by the queen. And these ones did not have any humans in them at all. They were just made out of like random animals like bats and like fish and stuff. Just random animals that the queen was eating. And then her goal was to like create like the strongest possible king, the strongest king possible. So she was looking for like stronger things to eat, and then she eventually ate humans and decided like those were the best material for creating Chimera ants. So another thing I noticed is like it seems that the strength of the ants, a lot of it, it depends on how many humans went into creating the ant. So like all of the original peon ants were just made out of like random animals, but then they the first human they ever ate was the one that turned into Colt. That was like the first human that the queen ever ate turned into Colt. And then a lot of officers also had humans in them, like the ones that can speak are the ones that like have humans within them. And then after this, like humans became like the main focus. They were still eating other things too, but humans became the main focus. And something that's really interesting, like that made Meruem way different, is he had hundreds of humans go into creating him, and like multiple Nen users as well. I think multiple Nen users went into creating Meruem. This is why like Meruem is so much stronger than all of the other ants. The queen, like, so this was the point where she had already built a whole army of squadron leaders. Like it's after, like you see this panel right here where like she calls all the squadron leaders together. She already had created all of these guys, like already had Colt and the alligator, all these different dudes. Pretty much had like her whole armada built, and the royal guards were already like in their cocoons being born as well. Then she says like from this point on, everything she eats will go towards Meruem, everything. And she says bring her 50 humans a day. Like Meruem was made out of hundreds and hundreds of humans and like a combination of different Nen users as well, which were like, they would call them the rare humans. And like I think the main human, like it might have been the strongest Nen user that she ate was Pokal, the dude with the arrows. And then I believe like he's the strongest Nen user that she ate, and like that's why Meruem like looks like him. Like Meruem kind of has Pokal's face a little bit, and but it's interesting like how he was so much smarter than Pokal was, because Pokal was kind of an idiot, but Meruem was just a super genius. Another thing, I think Meruem and Pokal have the same Nen type, which I've never seen anyone talk about that, but I think Pokal, like the dude who had the arrows, I think Pokal was an emitter, and I think Meruem was too. Low-key, I'm probably going to make a short on that, because I think that would be interesting. Okay. So now we're getting into like a little bit of power scaling, and then we're going to go over to the tier list. One thing I wanted to say is these two, the Ortho siblings, these guys are cracked. I actually think that they are technically the strongest officers out of all of the officer ants. But like their Hatsu ability, it really only works well if they're well hidden and far away from their enemy. Because like they themselves never displayed anything that was like strong in terms of like actual fighting ability. All of their strength seems like mainly dependent on their Hatsu ability, and their Hatsu ability is literally a domain expansion from Jujutsu Kaisen. Or technically, if you're being accurate about it, domain expansions are really just like a version of this, because this came first. But the Ortho siblings, like their ability, they have a dartboard. It's a conditional nen ability. So like the sister, if she puts a pin on an opponent, then the brother, he can throw darts at a dartboard, and anything that gets hit on the dartboard like ends up being an area on the enemy's body that like stabs them, basically. Like their body becomes the same thing as the dartboard. And so it's a really broken power if they're well hidden. We don't know the limits of the range to that ability, but there probably is a range limit. Like when they did this to Killua, they were like in an underground like bunker room they had that was underneath like the lake. So we don't know exactly how far away they were, but it didn't seem like they were that far. They reached Killua pretty quickly. So there might be a range limit, but this is also a conditional nen ability that risks quite a bit, because like if the brother misses the last dart, then all of the damage goes to him and he would just die. And this was also like, in my opinion, this was Killua's like one of his most impressive feats in the entire verse, like in the entire series, because unless you're a Zoldyck, or you're a master of N and you can like locate people really quickly with N, there's almost no way you could survive this. Like Gon would have died here for sure. Knuckle probably would have died here. But like anyone with N would most likely just use N, find the siblings and kill them if they were a master of N. And then any of the Zoldicks, like Zeno, would have easily gotten out of this. He would have used Zeno's N range is 300 meters. He would have found them and just like murked them immediately. Silva, the same thing. And it also, so another way of viewing it, maybe some of the squadron leaders could have survived this too. Because like they would still take orders from the squadron leaders. Like they didn't seem rebellious like Ramot was, for example. So maybe they still feared their squadron leader to a certain extent. So yeah. And then like, obviously the Royal Guards would just obliterate them. Merwin would obliterate them. But like their weakness is like they don't seem very strong outside of this Hatsu ability. So if they're just like straight up fighting an officer in a 1v1 fight, they're not going to do very well. They'd have to run away and like try and play a game of darts. But like if they're hidden and they set it up like a trap, then they become very powerful. So yeah, but this was literally a domain expansion, like the same properties. Like you don't feel the attack until it's already hit you, and like you're within their domain basically. And another way it seems like it was implied that you might be able to bypass, like you might be able to defend against it if you have speed of light reaction speed. And Killua said to himself that he's not even the speed of light, but he could still react to it because he knew where the final dart was. So there is like some ways you can defend against it slightly, but it's like pretty much, unless you're a Zoldyck or someone with a large N radius, or if you're a Master Enhancer, you might be able to survive this too, because Master Enhancers can heal themselves. Like Kurapika showed, like he had his arm like turned into literal mashed potatoes by the Big Bang impact against Uvogin and immediately healed from it. So maybe some Master Enhancers could survive it. But I guarantee all the Zodiacs would survive this. They should all be Masters of N. Something interesting would be like, could Morel survive it? I'd say most likely Morel would find a way to survive it too, but it's hard to tell. Like maybe Morel would also just like no darts, but it's just interesting because pretty much anyone other than the Zoldicks or the Zodiac would have died here. Like, so being a Zoldyck training is OP, I'm not gonna lie. And Killua is just genuinely different. This was such an impressive feat from Killua. Okay, and then the last bits here, there's some very forgettable ants. Like we spent a good amount of time talking about this guy, who is one of Leol's officers. His ability he's just used for surveillance. We never see him fight anyone, but like his Hatsu ability lets him like send out a bunch of like dragonflies, and he can look through the dragonflies and like give information to people. And he actually gets killed off screen by Nove, and then the next time we see him, Icalgo takes over his body. Another thing about Icalgo is it seems Icalgo can use anyone's Hatsu ability that he takes over. So like Icalgo on his own is fodder, but if he takes over someone strong, then he becomes strong. And then Welfin is just a chump. I've literally never liked Welfin. Like, to me, he's the most boring Chimera ant in the story. I don't know why, but like I just literally do not care about him, bro. I don't know what it is, but like every time I've ever like read Wolfin's fight against Icalgo, I skip it every time. I've read Hunter x Hunter so many times, I skip this fight every single time. This is my, like, when I started making these slides, this was my first time actually looking at his Hatsu ability, and it's just trash. It just makes missiles and shoots missiles. He's fodder. And then there's also this lobster guy who shoots like emission blasts from his claws. But yeah, so that's like all the basic narrative stuff. I also have like the Hunter x Hunter wiki open over here because it like lists the ranks of each ant. But now we'll get into scaling. But before I get into scaling, I will peep these comments because I missed a ton of them. So Isaiah, you had said, yo, Lilos, I really wanted to see if you could check out this top 10 list of Hunter x Hunter it took me to make. I really hope you can check it out this stream. I'll check it out, bro. Maybe not during this stream, just because I think if it's in the Discord, it'll take me a second to like pull it up and stuff. But yeah, if you sent it in the Discord, I'll look at it and I'll leave a comment replying to it. I'm just scrolling through the comments to answer a few before I start getting into the labeling. Broma said, yeah, they're both emitters. Oh, okay. I think he was talking about Meruem and Pokol. Yeah, that was an interesting, like, fun fact. I think, like, if you guys are just hopping in the stream right now, something I was saying earlier is Meruem was, like, I think the strongest Nen user that was eaten in creating Meruem was this dude, Pokol, right here. And if we put Pokol right next to Meruem, maybe we can look at their similarities. Where's Meruem on here? So here's Meruem. Here's Pokol. They both have hats, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, like Pokol was an emitter and Meruem was an emitter as well. I think Pokol had like the most influence on creating Meruem. But it's interesting because Pokol was kind of dumb as bricks, but like Meruem was actually very smart. So I'm not quite sure how that happened, but yeah, Pokol was an emitter and so is Meruem. So I think he had like heavy influence on Meruem. Bromis said, is Icalgo confirmed to be an officer? He took orders from Flutter. Oh, good point. Good point. That's actually making me question that myself. So I would actually say yes, he is an officer because he uses Nen. Like when he takes over people's body, he uses Nen, and I think like him taking over people's body might actually be his own like Hatsu ability. But like he takes over like dead people's bodies a couple different times. Like he takes over that guy who had like a sniper rifle. He took him over, and then he took over Icalco's body. I mean, sorry, he took over Flutter's body during the invasion. So I think that Icalgo was also an officer. So yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, he was an officer that took orders from Flutter. So I wonder why he was doing that. So maybe he was just like, maybe that had to do with his personality from the human he ate. Maybe. Or maybe he was just viewing it as like Liol's order. Yeah, maybe he was taking it as Liol's order. Broma said, is it confirmed by a statement that peons and drones can't use Nen? All that's stated is that some ants can't see it, right? Yeah, I mean, it's more implied because, like I was saying, like we don't exactly get the statements for every single, like we don't word for word every single ant get lined up and they're like, okay, you're a peon, you're an officer, you're a peon, you're an officer. Like they don't ever exactly do that for all of them. Some of them it's like left up to interpretation, like Icalgo. But like the strong, like in my opinion, this is pretty solid evidence. Here is, hold on, is this panel here where like these guys cannot see Nen, and like so this fodder ant cannot see Nen. And Ramot has like some dialogue where he's like, "This is a gift from above." Do I have that panel too? Yeah, right here, right here, right here. So like, Ramot is saying this is a gift from above. Only the chosen ones have this power. So it's kind of like, if you couldn't see Nen, they didn't even waste time trying to teach it to you, because this is how like all the squadron leaders and officers get Nen. It's from this ceremony where like Ramot's just like punching them all in the face. It's from this ceremony. And the only ones that got invited were the officers and the squadron leaders. So like for a peon ant to have acquired Nen, a peon ant would have had to like sneak their way into this ceremony. And I don't think they would really allow that. Or a peon ant had to fight a Nen user and survive. And I just do not think that Icalgo did that. I think Icalgo was one of the officers that got called in. But you do have a good point. He did take orders from Flutter, like when he was in the sniper rifle body. So let me go back to here. That is a very good point. So like that makes me wonder, are these, like we were saying this in the beginning, like these dudes that Killua fought, they're either officers or they're fodder ants. But like they had a leader, which was this guy. And like officers don't work in teams like that. So that's why I was thinking these guys were all officers. I'm sorry, these guys were all peons. This guy was an officer. And I also think Icalgo was an officer. Like I said, we don't get all the statements for their actual rank, but that actually makes sense to me, that like these guys were all peons. This guy's an officer, and Icalgo was an officer. But they all did take orders from Flutter. But maybe they just viewed it as like taking Leol's orders through Flutter, because like Leol was the one who gave him the order. Like Leol's like, get all the men to stop him. And he's like, yes, sir. Then Flutter gives this order to all these guys. Flutter immediately after, like this is the panel right after that. And Flutter's like, go Leol's army, capture the prey. So yeah, I mean, Bromus, that's a really good question. But my stance on it, I would say, what is it? I would say like the reason Icalgo listened is maybe he was viewing it as Leol's command. Like maybe he was viewing Flutter's command as Leol's command. Or maybe it's just like some officers will listen to other officers if their like original human was kind enough, like the human that created them was kind enough. This is kind of going into theory territory now. But like we look at Icalgo, and he was a very kind Chimera ant, similar to Melioron. So I don't know, maybe Icalgo's just the exception of the officers. Maybe Icalgo's like one of the only officers that would listen to another officer, maybe. But that's kind of into the theory category. And Bromis said that these guys, you think they're definitely peons. I think that they're peons too. But it should be noted, like, Gon and Killua were strong enough to one-shot weak officers, even at the start of Chimera Ant arc. Like, they did one-shot, like, Killua did one-shot that Mosquito. It wasn't really a one-shot. Like, that Mosquito and him had a little back-and-forth fight. Like, the Mosquito actually stabbed Killua. And if Killua wasn't immune to poison, that would have actually been pretty bad. And like Killua like blew her arms off first, and she was still able to keep fighting. So I actually wouldn't call that one a one shot, but Gon did one shot that armadillo officer. Like he just grabbed him and crushed him. But also these guys don't display Nen, so that would also be another thing that makes me think that they're peons. But anyways, I think MC Shifter said, I love the videos, Lilos. Thank you, bro. I'm just going to scroll through a couple more comments, then we'll start the tier list. Zero said, Icalgo is confirmed to be an officer in the wiki. Yeah, the wiki actually does do a pretty good job of labeling all the Chimera Ants rank. Just looking for anything else. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to get started with the tier list now. So let's get started. Obviously, like the easiest ones to get out of the way will be like, where's Merwin? He's at the pinnacle. And then maybe we can start with like just get all the strongest guys out of the way first. We got Pito. Oh, dude, I just remembered I forgot to put a panel in that freaking like all that narrative scaling stuff we did. There was one panel I wanted to include. It was from a Shueisha guide where it states that like what did it say? Like it was from a Yu Yu Hakusho like Shueisha jump guide, and it said that Pito's strength was second only to the king, and Adult Gon displayed strength that was on a completely different level. That was like a quote from a Yu Yu Hakusho guide at the very end of it, and it just had like a little bit of stuff for Hunter x Hunter. So it's like one way you could view that is well that guide, it states that like Pito was the strongest royal guard because Pito's strength was second only to the king, which confirms like Pito was stronger than Netero too. And then Gon was obviously like on a way different level than Pito. But it might have all. But another way you could interpret it is that Gon was stronger than Meruem too, which is something like I've talked about in the past. Like with his rock, he would scale to being like several to dozens of times stronger than Meruem. And Pito like also kind of implies that too. Like as Pito's dying, Pito says that Pito's happy that it's the one who's dying and not Meruem. There's a couple different things, but yeah. So, like, there's, like, a statement in the guide that says Pito was the strongest royal guard. So let me put their, like, normal forms like this. Where's Poof at? Oh, wait. What am I doing? I thought that was royal guard. Okay, so all these guys will go like this. But Pito and Yuppie both evolve, technically. Where is... Okay, yeah, so this is post-mortem Nen Pito. Stronger than the normal Pito, but weaker than Meruem. And then where is evolve? Oh yeah, and I got evolved Yuppie on here. Like after Yuppie evolves, this is debatable. Let me know what you guys think in the chat about this. I actually have evolved Yuppie. Well, the guidebooks does actually disagree. So I mean, the guidebook said that Pito's strength was second only to the king, and it states this like even after Yuppie evolved. So I might still have to put Yuppie here. But like if it wasn't for that guidebook statement, I would actually have Yuppie above normal Pito, and then I would have postmortem Nen Pito above Yuppie. But that guidebook statement does mean that Pito would be stronger, would still be stronger than even the evolved Yuppie. Another thing to think about is like Pito is also the oldest royal guard. The difference in their age is only like a couple days, but technically Pito is the older sibling to Yuppie and Poof. And then Poof is actually kind of broken too. Like something that's like they also pretty much tell us that Poof's weaker than Pito by straight up saying like Poof's N is not as good as Pito's is. Like it doesn't have the same range, like which would imply Poof might just have less aura than Pito. But Poof has pretty good hacks. Like being able to clone yourself a bunch of times is pretty broken. And I think he has like mental manipulation abilities. Like he can mess with your mind if you're fighting him. But we don't really get to see him like do anything other than like cry the entire arc. So people like disrespect him all the time. But he's actually really strong. Okay. So let's get into labeling these guys. So Welfin. Welfin, I believe, is an officer. This is why I have this open over here. Let me double check. Is Welfin an officer? I'm pretty sure. Oh, he was a squadron leader. Okay. This is why we have the wiki. So it says that Welfin was a squadron leader. Okay. I just hate Welfin so much, bro. Like he is just such a boring ant to me. He's actual trash. I'm gonna have him at like the very bottom of squadron leader, but like it looks like he's at the front just because I don't have anyone else here. Like let me put Colt in here just because I don't like this guy. So like I'm having Welfin at the very bottom of squadron leader level. Something else to keep in mind is like I think maybe like one or two of the officer ants might end up in the squadron leader level tier. So here's something to think about. It seems like the stronger officer ants like Ramot, once they awakened Nen, they became like a little bit stronger than like Cult without Nen. What do you guys think about that? Like Cult, when he was first introduced, him with no aura, he was stronger than Ramot. But then like when Ramot awakened Nen, he nearly one shot Cult. Like he punched him in the head one time as hard as he could. It like messed Cult up pretty bad, but Cult was still conscious. He like didn't pass out from it, but it still did like serious damage to Cult, showing that like Ramot with Nen was likely stronger than Cult without Nen. So like it seemed like the stronger officer ants, like people around Ramot level, were once they got Nen, became like technically the original squadron leader level, like like before squadron leaders got Nen. So I don't know. As the tier goes on, I might put like, for example, if we're counting Ramot with Nen, he's probably like here, you know. But maybe it would just be easier if I just have him at like the front of officer ant. I think I'll probably do something like that. But let's just keep going down the line. So the Ortho siblings, if they're using their Hatsu ability and they're well hidden, they are strong, like the strongest officer ant. But like if they're just in a 1v1 fight, they'd be like weaker than Ramot. Maybe. We actually never see them do anything like fighting wise whatsoever. But for now, I'm just going to leave them at the front of officers. I think this guy's name is Behorn, and I think he's one of the squadron leaders. Like when they say squadron leader assemble, I think he's like standing there. Yeah, I think he's this dude right here. When they say squadron leaders assemble, so he was a squadron leader, and like he's completely feetless. We never see him do a singular thing at all, but he's like a gigantic squadron leader made of like rhino and like a cow or something. And then he gets Nen on top of that, so he should be pretty strong. We don't know if he has a Hatsu ability. He's completely feetless. So he might even be weaker than Welfiend. But I hate Welfiend so much, I want to put him over Welfiend just because he's like a gigantic, like jacked dude. But I mean, Welfiend at least has feats. This guy's feetless, so I'll put him behind Welfiend. Zazan is one of the strongest squadron leaders. Zazan was cracked even before Zazan learned Nen. Zazan one-shot like Nen users that had passed the Hunter exams. So like Zazan one-shot Pokal like he was nothing. Zazan's Stinger, like before learning Nen, Zazan's Stinger would just like instantly knock people out and like hit them with a paralyzing poison that would leave you paralyzed for days, I think maybe even weeks. So Zazan was broken from the very beginning, and then when Zazan transforms into her transformation state, she became so strong that Phaeton with Ko couldn't even damage her. Like that's literally Phaeton putting all of his aura into one attack and it did 0 damage. She's broken. Like technically that's like if Phaeton did Gon's rock attack and it just did nothing. Like that's nuts. So she's one of the in my opinion, she probably is the strongest squadron leader. And then once she awakened Nen, her Stinger developed a Hatsu ability where she can transform you into a Chimera ant. She was broken, bro. Like she, like all the other Chimera ants were talking about how they wanted to be kings and queens. She legitimately was like a real queen. Like she was literally forming an army all of her own. Phantom Weight said, is this before or after Nen? So I'm doing this as them after Nen. This is like scaling them all in their strongest states. Yeah, that's but yeah, they're all pretty cracked. So let me keep going. This is a turtle. This turtle has 0 feats. The only thing we see the turtle do is get one shot by Meruem as soon as Meruem's born. And I think this turtle like enjoyed reading books and like was more of like a sagely type character. Never saw them fight. Completely featless as well. but I'll put them behind here, just based off of the animals they're made up of. That like seem to contribute a bit to their physical strength, but like it is odd though because Ramot was really strong and he was made out of like bunny rabbits, bro. Meanwhile, like Gon fought the armadillo one and one shot him on his own. It's interesting to think about. Like why was Ramot so strong, dude? Like Ramot definitely had to be made out of like some powerful criminals or something. We don't really know why Ramot was so strong. Okay, this centipede. This is a centipede that Gon like chopped in half. I'm saying that he's weaker than Ramot because like Gon on his own like pretty much low diffed this guy. Gon beat him without even like getting touched. Like Gon took 0 damage in that fight and chopped him into like 3 pieces. It is interesting. Like if Gon had used scissors on Ramot, that probably would have killed Ramot too. I don't know why he didn't actually. Like when I think about it, why didn't Gon just chop Ramot in half? Honestly, that's a good question. But Ramot, like the thing about Ramot though, like the reason why I say he's strong is because he took rock and didn't die. Like he didn't even go unconscious. And like I honestly think that might have been a scaling mistake from Togashi. It might have been. Because it doesn't really make a lot of sense why Ramot could take something like that without any Nen protection at all. Because like later, like a couple chapters later, Gon one-shot KOs Knuckle while Knuckle's using Ko, and Gon's exhausted, uses Rock. So like, are you telling me that Ramot with no Nen has as much durability as Knuckle with maximum Ko? That doesn't seem right at all. I'm gonna be honest, it just doesn't seem right because Knuckle stated to be on par with Kite, and like Kite would just obliterate Ramot in every like. Kite is killing Ramot without using his Hatsu if he wants to. So, or maybe another thing to think about is like maybe Ramot is just very durable. I don't know. His durability made no sense. And it genuinely, like every time, like that, okay, so that rock attack from Gon, it did one-shot him, right? Like he couldn't fight after that and he was like lying on the ground, like puking blood for like a whole day. So he would have he lost from getting hit by that. But like the fact that he didn't go unconscious immediately is insane. It might be just because he's crazy and like his rage was keeping him awake. I don't know. Because and Crawler, you have a good point. You said bro almost died though. That is true. He did almost die. But it's like, I don't know. That scene was always kind of weird to me, if I'm going to be honest. It just feels like that might have been a slight mistake from Togashi because he should be nowhere near Kite's level in any stat. But I don't know. I'll just leave that how it is. Okay, we have Icalgo. So Icalgo, if he's not taking over someone's body, he's fodder. He's like weaker than some peon ants because he literally cannot fight whatsoever. I think he can grab a gun and fire it. So he's about as strong as like a human soldier with no abilities. But if he takes over someone's body, he becomes about as strong as they were. Like, so if like the strongest body he ever took over was the sniper rifle dude, and if we're talking about the sniper rifle dude, he'd be pretty strong. Like if he's from afar, he's probably stronger than the centipede. Like based off of the strongest body he ever took, if he was in the sniper rifle guy's body, he'd be stronger than the centipede dude. But I'm gonna just leave him in fodder ant because like on his own he's trash. Now here's the same thing with Melioron, bro. Melioron is trash. Like Melioron, his Hatsu ability is really broken as a support ability, but he himself is very weak. Like he has a statement where he's like he himself is weak, but his ability is just really great for support. Okay. All right. Now the koala. The koala is another officer ant. And he like when he was a human, he was a hitman, and seemed like he was actually a decently strong human being. And he also didn't take orders from Melioron, but Melioron is the weakest ant, so maybe he just didn't respect his strength, or it was just like the Hitman personality was like so powerful that like it didn't really matter. He was also strong enough to kill other Chimera ants. He like talks about that to Kite, like the reincarnation of Kite. He's saying like there was a time he killed this girl because Chimera ants were chasing her, but he said he should have killed the Chimera ants instead, showing that he could kill like fodder level ants. But he was an officer. I'm putting him. This is debatable. I'm gonna put him below this guy because he showed like really nothing. Oh wait, no, he got hit in the face with a tree and didn't take any damage from it. So he showed like some base level durability, but I'm going to put him below the Centipede. What do you guys think about that? Do you think Centipede's weaker than him? But I'm putting him below Centipede. Okay. Yunju was a squadron leader. You could tell by how like the Centipede and the Mosquito both listen to him, and then he has a line of this Centipede has a line of dialogue where he's like, if I don't fight Gon, Yunju will kill me. So like Yunju was his boss. He was the leader, and he was like trying to take over an NGL base to like be the king of that base. So he was a squadron leader for sure. But he died before ever awakening Nen. So I'm putting him like above the turtle. The queen is just fodder trash. I don't know. What do you think? Who do you think was stronger, the queen or Icalgo? I'll just put the queen at the bottom. Like, she could eat animals. That's the only ability she showed. She could eat animals, and it's like, I don't know. I'll just leave her right there. Okay. Now we have the owl. The owl is low-key underrated. He was decently strong, man. Like, he was boxing with Gon while Gon was using like a defensive Ken. So like Gon was putting most of his aura into defense, like wasn't prioritizing offense because he was getting attacked in the dark and he like couldn't see. But he could hold his own against like Gon going entirely into defense, while Gon was like being attacked by audio attacks. And this was Gon after finishing like Bisky's second round of training. So this owl is actually pretty strong. I low-key think he's stronger than Ramot. Like, this might be a hot take, but I genuinely do think he was stronger than Ramot. Just like seeing how he was able to go back and forth with Gon after Gon completed the month of training with Bisky. Meanwhile, the bat got one shot. The bat got one shot, and the snake got one shot. Like, is the snake on here? I might have forgotten to add the snake, but the snake is where is he at? This guy, this snake, he got one shot by Gon, and the bat also got one shot by Gon. And we don't, so also the snake, we do not get the snake's ranking either. The wiki says that he's an officer. Oops. Yeah, the wiki has the snake listed as an officer, and he might have been, like, the snake actually had a kind of cool power, but we don't get to see the snake use Nen. Like, sometimes characters are using Nen and Togashi doesn't like really animate it. It's similar to like Haki in One Piece. There's a lot of fights where like characters are using Haki but Oda doesn't draw it. Like the entire well, this is like slight spoilers, but the entire Marineford War, all the characters are using Haki but Oda doesn't draw it. But yeah, the snake, do you guys think that the snake was an officer? Like, what do you guys think about the snake? This was the dude that like Gon just punched him one time and like tied him around a tree and he was cooked. Do you think he was an officer? Because like based off of Melioron's statements, it seemed like he was, because he said those three were my men. Like those were three of like my dudes. It just kind of sounded like they were like his officers. But let me know what you guys think. I think the snake was an officer. The bat was clearly an officer because she was using Nen, and she still got one shot by Gon. But the owl actually held his own. Where is he at? Where did I just put? Oh yeah, this guy, the owl in his gorilla form, actually held his own against Gon, and he picked up a rock and threw it, and it was like just as strong as Gon's paper. Like he actually was no joke. And I also think like Killua one-shot Ramot in base form. Angry Kid Gon, I think, would one-shot him in base form too. Like without using his Hatsu. I think Gon and Killua can both kill him without Hatsu. But this dude, Gon one-shot him with Hatsu. So I keep him slightly above Ramot, but they're very close. But let me know what you guys think about that. Okay, this is the dung beetle guy that Killua fought. We were saying he's an officer. We see him do nothing except like shoot a fart at Killua that explodes. We don't know if he has like any like hand-to-hand ability whatsoever. So I mean, he's probably one of the weaker ones. I mean, these two are both fodder. I don't really think it matters too much where I put him here. But like he showed zero like actual fighting ability, just like farting on people. That was all he ever displayed. So maybe I'll put him above. I don't know. Maybe he's above Koala. The Koala took like getting hit in the head with a tree and was fine. This dude showed zero of anything other than just farting, and then that was it. So if the Koala can dodge the fart, he just hits him with a water bullet and he dies. Maybe. We don't know the limits of his durability, but this one could go either way. Fozu said both are mid. True. Oh wait, were you talking about these ants or something in the chat? And then this was the girl. So like the human that created Cult, his little sister gets turned into this ant. She's just a fodder peon. This is the dude that what is his name? Is it Shalnark? Shalnark's the dude who goes super. This guy's named Shalnark, right? The dude. This is the one that Shalnark fought, and he on his own is weak as dirt. But he has a Hatsu ability where he controls this peon ant. This peon ant's name is Pell, and this guy controls Pell with his Hatsu ability. And like Pell was strong enough to restrain Shalnark. Where is Shalnark? It was strong enough to restrain Shalnark. So Pell's actually like probably one of the physically strongest fodder ants. But this guy himself is physically weak, but him and Pell together were like one unit. So I'll leave it like that. The Bat Girl, she's decently strong, but not that strong. But she did know Nen. So I'll put her like right here. It's debatable between like because she was a support type for the owl. Like all she did was like sonic attacks, and then she can like dive in and like chop people's heads off. So she's decently strong. She's the strongest in the night, and she's like meant to be a support character. Who do you guys think would win in a 1v1 fight? Like this owl? The bat or the fart guy? Probably the bat, because like he has nothing that would attack her, and if they're in fighting at night, he's cooked. So maybe she's right here. She might even be stronger than the koala. But low-key, wait a minute. She was stronger than the centipede too, because the centipede never learned Nen. I actually got to move this dude down. The centipede never learned Nen. Okay, I'll put him right here. And koala, he probably learned Nen if he didn't abandon the Chimera ants before that ceremony, so I'd put him here. He never learned Nen. Bat did know Nen. Who do you guys think would win between the bat and this dude? If it's at nighttime, her for sure. In the daytime, maybe he would snipe her, but I don't know. The bat, yeah, okay. I think you guys might be right. Maybe the bat would win. And but I do think Ramot's stronger than the bat. I think Ramot's stronger than the bat, but weaker than the owl. Also, another thing that made me think Ramot was weaker than the owl is the owl's literally made out of gorilla genes too. So like that's just a stronger animal going into him. So what do you guys think about this ranking with these three? Like I think Bat's weaker than Ramot, but Ramot's weaker than the owl in his gorilla form. But the owl in his normal form, Ramot would be stronger. What do you guys think of that stuff? Fozu said you think the koala should win because he was a hitman. He is a hitman, that's true. But if she's fighting at night, I don't know if koala could see him. Oh, wait, can koalas see in the night too? Koalas might be able to see in the night too. So that would take away her like element of surprise. It is debatable. Maybe koala's stronger. Maybe she's stronger. This one is close. I guess I'll leave it here. Kona said Forrest amped Logan Paul versus all of Hunter x Hunter. Now that's a wild one. That's insane. I don't even know if I should have read that. That's a crazy thing to type. Okay, let me just keep going. Yeah, I should have read that in my head. That's actually really messed up, man. So anyways, the Rhino, this Rhino guy, he was an officer, but yeah, and let me clarify. I was not laughing at the scenario. I was just not expecting to read Logan Paul versus Hunter x Hunter. And then as I thought of it more, I'm like, oh, that's actually a really dark joke. So now I'm not laughing at it anymore. It's not funny. It's just messed up. Okay. Yeah, that's actually kind of sad. But let me focus on this. Okay. So the Rhino dude, he did not. What was it? He never learned Nen either. But he said that he was 10 times stronger than the armadillo. So I'll put him here. He was probably okay. Actually, this is actually interesting. I think that the Rhino was stronger than the centipede that Gon just chopped in half. I think he was stronger than him, but he never learned Nen, so maybe he was still weaker than the bat. What do you guys think about this? Actually, who do you think was stronger? This Rhino officer ant who never learned Nen, but he said he was 10 times stronger than the armadillo, or the bat? Because I mean, like, can the Rhino even hit the bat, you know? Okay, and this frog dude, low-key, like, narratively, the frog might have been the strongest officer there, like, in the forest. So, like, when they were in the forest, the frog dude was the one who was, like, making all the orders, basically, and was, like, talking to Gon and Killua. He's like, yo, okay, here's how the rules of this fight's gonna go. And then another thing was, like, after the Rhino died, they were, like, drawing raffles, and he said, enough of this, I'm gonna go. Okay, so it was kind of implying that he was the strongest out of the officers in the forest. Peggy is feetless. We have no idea, like, what Peggy could do. But, like, he's just, like, a freaking, like, penguin, bro. I don't know if he had any powers. Like, we have no idea. Because it's not necessarily fair to judge them based off of just the animal they had that made them. Because, like, this dude is a frog, but he was supposedly, like, implied to be stronger than the Rhino. He might have been. But Peggy, I don't know. I'm going to just leave Peggy in fodder. I don't... this girl... was all, oh wait, Leol was actually a super strong squadron leader. I'll put Leol above Colt. He fought like, he actually got evolved. Like, he got a Hatsu ability from Poof. So he's actually pretty strong. And then we have this girl. She was, like, always, like, chilling with him. They might have been, like, dating when they were humans. But she does literally nothing the entire series. And she was one of his officers. So she's completely feetless. But she does know Nen. Supposedly should know Nen. So I'll put her above the frog. Pokel. Pokel also learned Nen. And he was, like, taking punches. Wait, no, his name's Pike. Sorry. Isn't his name Pike? Pike, like, took punches from Pokel and, like, was actually pretty fine. And then he fought that girl Shizuku and, like, held his own for a while and, like, pushed her a little bit. So I'm putting him above the bat, putting him above Koala. I'm putting him above Ramat too, for sure. Probably above the Owl too, because he actually fought Shizuku on his own for a while. And then we got this lobster dude. Wait, let me double check. Was lobster dude an officer? I think he was. Oh, whoops. I accidentally clicked on one of them. Okay, where's Lobster Man? Oh, yeah, he was a squadron leader, bro. This dude was a jobber. I'm not even sure if this is accurate. Wait, let me look at this. Was he here? Oh, he was. He was an officer. Look at this lobster dude right here. I mean, sorry, he was a squadron leader. My bad. Not a officer. He was a squadron leader. And then there's also this dude who does absolutely nothing. He doesn't even... He does nothing. I'm not even going to put him on the list. And this, like, octopus guy also does nothing. But this lobster, we see him, like, shoot some emitter blasts. But he was a squadron leader, actually. I'm putting him at like the very bottom of these dudes. Put him like here. And oh, Chitu. So Chitu was actually one of the strongest squadron leaders too. Like, he physically couldn't do much damage, but he was super fast. He was the fastest squadron leader. And he was an idiot. Like, I don't know if Zazan would be able to beat him. Like, would Zazan... What do you guys think would happen if Zazan fought Chitu? Like, Chitu could never, like, do enough damage to beat her. But, the question is, like, can she hit him one time? Like, can she hit him with the stinger? Because he's never doing enough damage to kill her. And then he, like... When he developed that territory-based Hatsu ability, like, would Zazan be smart enough to get out of that? That's a good question. So, I don't know. I might put Chitu above her, like, when he had that territory-based Hatsu ability, because she didn't really display, like, Morel-level intelligence, but he was dumb as bricks, so maybe she could trick him and get out of there. But yeah, this one could go either. Like, physically, she's way stronger than Chitu, but, like, Chitu with his Hatsu ability, we didn't even get to see what it would do. Like, if you don't catch him in his, like, territory, we don't even know what would happen. It's unknown, but I don't think she'd be able to catch him if she got stuck in that territory. It's really unknown. And oh, and then we have Flutter, who was an officer, but, like, all he was a surveillance guy, so I'll put him, like, right there. And yeah, that's all of them. So that's the whole tier list for ranking, like, the notable Chimera ants. What do you guys think of this list? Anything you guys disagree with? Zero said Chitu's dumber than a rock, but Zazan has no patience. That's a good point. Zazan isn't cool-headed enough to outlast Chitu's attention span and sneak him. I agree with that. Fozu said moral IQ is like top 10 in the verse, bare minimum, so that's kind of high bar to clear. Very true. Jim Roberts said she removed APR from Chitu, I'm pretty sure. I think it might, yeah, I forgot who did that. It might have been Poof. Someone said, did you take Reborn Kite into consideration post-mortem Nen stuff? I did not. But Reborn Kite seemed like they could still fight, like, decently. Like, they were a child, but could still fight with a sword and, like, still had their memories. I wonder if they had a different Hatsu ability then. Okay. Okay, yeah, I think that'll be it for this this tier list. And then just real quickly, we'll go over to this poll I did. It is down here. Got to scroll down a bit. Yeah, I did Ramot with Nen versus Zazan no Nen. I actually think Zazan no Nen would still kill Ramot. Because all Zazan would have to do is just hit him with the stinger, and it should kill him. That would be my stance on it. But let's look at, or it would, like, at least paralyze him for days, and then she can just kill him while he's paralyzed. I actually lean more towards Zazan. And then once Zazan gets Nen, she's on a different tier than Ramot with Nen. Let's look at these top comments. So this guy said the power difference of a person with Nen and no Nen is huge. Kenny said using Nen against non-Nen users is like bringing a gun to a knife fight. Randy King said actually Ramot, well, hold on. Oh yeah, like he's talking about how Colt took a punch from Ramot and, like, Colt tanked it even without Nen, so Zazan might just be fine. And how long is this one? This one's pretty long. This person's saying Zazan slam, she's no joke. In the NGL I won't read the whole thing on stream, but I've been trying to train, man. Be squadron leader. He's saying that Gon and Keelbo weren't ready to beat squadron leaders yet at the start of Chimera Antark. That might actually be true. That actually might be true. And he's talking about pre-Nen Zazan had a higher total databook stats than Nen Awakened Ramot. Yeah, in the databooks, Zazon and Ramot do not scale very high in the databooks. But I also heard someone say that like the databooks aren't even written by Togashi, the power levels in them. Yeah, Netawaken Ramot is pretty mid. He's not that strong. No Hatsu Kite is still stronger than No Needle Killua. I agree with that too. And it said, so Zazon and the other squadron leaders with combat feats slam all the officers, even the Nenawakened ones like Ramot. That might actually be true. I actually really like this comment. Okay. I think that's all the comments I will read for now on stream. So yeah, guys, I gotta get to editing the next video. I'm still working on Netero versus the Phantom Troop. That video is going to have like some pretty good Phantom Troop scaling in that one. So if you'd like to hear the Phantom Troop power scaling, tune in for that one. I think it'll be posted tomorrow. But yeah, that'll be everything for this stream. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I appreciate all of your views and all of the comments. Thank you guys for watching. Dude, I honestly feel bad about giggling at that Logan Paul joke. I know they were just joking around, but I was like, I laughed at it because I saw Logan Paul, and then I thought about it. I'm like, oh, that's a dark joke. Probably shouldn't have laughed at that. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate the views. Appreciate all the comments. Sorry I didn't read every single comment. But yeah, if you guys want to chat more about like the stuff we talked about in this live stream, hop into the Discord debate tab. Like we have a Discord for this YouTube channel. I'll post the link in the description. Hop into that link and chat in the debate tab or the general tab. Oh, Bromus, dude, thanks for the donation, bro. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you, Bromus. But yeah, hop in the Discord. You can debate there. Let me know if you agree with the rankings. One more time, this is what I have listed here. Let me know if you agree with it, disagree with anything here. Let me know what you guys think. Kona said it was just a joke, bro. I know, Kona, you're good, bro. Don't worry. It's completely chill. You're good, bro. Yeah, that's everything I wanted to say.